Hello. My name is Mike Skibra, and I will be the moderator for Softron's first virtual exhibition. A little bit about myself by way of introduction. I've been a part of the Softron team since 2007. Prior to that, I had work experiences with Apple starting in 1982, with TrueVision back in 1986, which was when I actually got involved in the video/computer industry. And in the early part of this century, I was instrumental in introducing Blackmagic design to the United States market. A little bit how we're going to be conducting these sessions. If you are on YouTube and you want to pose a question, the first thing you're going to have to do is make sure you establish a channel so that you can enter into the chat and ask a question via the chat. Softron, as you know, has been involved in the broadcast industry for about 39 years. They've developed exclusively for the Apple Macintosh over that period of time. The focus is primarily ingest, playback, and streaming. With us today, we have two people from Softron, Pierre Chevalier, our CTO, who is based in Brussels, and David Belisle, who is based here with me in Nevada. I'd like to introduce Pierre. Pierre, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the industry, how you got involved with Softron?
Yes, thank you, Mike. So I've been working for Softron since 15 years now. So it's been a while. Before that, I was working at TV stations, doing a lot of different things. I started editing, doing cameras, producing shows and so on. And I also was technical director of TV stations at the end. And while looking for a broadcast solution, we were looking to playout on the Mac because we were a Mac-based TV station. I ended up meeting Softron and choosing that solution for broadcast. And then I joined Softron. And since then, I've been doing many things at Softron and also handling support. So I have a lot of contact with customers. So I like to think that I'm kind of an interface between customers and then the developers and what we do. And it's very important for me to get this contact, to keep being in touch because I really enjoyed working in that industry. And so yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Thanks, Pierre. David, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with these guys.
Yeah, funny enough, I lived in Las Vegas and worked in TV for 9 years in Las Vegas, and then I moved away to Denver, Colorado, and that was the first time I heard about Softron, and which is a great market. And I working there, they showed me Movie Recorder, and I was like, this is awesome. This is great. And I started looking into other products and found OnTheAir Video. And it was funny because that's exactly what saved our production hours every day for the whole week. So we talked about how the efficiency, how much it really helped us just being able to quickly schedule something. And so it was great when there was an opportunity to come back to Las Vegas, and I got to work with the products now to be part of the production. So it's really great that I've been as a production person and as an engineer, and now I get to be on the other side of it. And like Pierre, as a customer who's now part of the team, it's kind of fun to be part of that and help everyone through. So
great. Thanks, David. Today's live session is all about 24/7 broadcast. And I am very glad to tell you we have someone who's been focusing on this and Softron products for a while. His name is Olivier Greoli, and he is in Brussels. I would like to introduce Olivier now. Olivier, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you eventually got involved with Softron as well.
Hi, so I'm coming from the cinema industry. I was working for more than 1 decade in the industry, and I come to another thing that I was not aware, which was local television. I was not working in a TV station before. So when I came here, I saw many people asking, oh, what a pity about the software. And they were always thinking that IT was a mess for them. Then I think, so currently I'm the technical manager of a local TV station based near Brussels in a town named Liège. And when I came here, the main issue was about the software and about a piece of software not used by the same people. So I was with some journalists using an RCS, which name is iNews, other people using other software, and all together it was a mess. They were not talking each other. So we decided to move to another way of working, and we decided to go to some shows like IBC in Amsterdam, and we saw that nothing was match our needs. So we were wondering how we can manage that. So our main focus was how we can deal with a little staff. The main issue in Belgium is about the salary, because you have to pay a lot of taxes to get some people working in your company. So as we are only 30 people, we need to find out a solution to go to what we can name a 24 broadcast system without getting a lot of people in the staff. So we go to a solution that was saying, okay, guys, let's first focus on the journalist part, and let's focus about creating by ourselves a media asset management that's working on what we name a smartphone. It was the main issue, because when we go to some trade show, we always saw some things, but working on Mac or working on a PC computer, but nothing really working on smartphone. And it was a mess for us, because an half of our user doesn't have a computer. They have only a smartphone. So we came to the idea to create our solution ourselves. And we also decided to go to open source instead of going to commercial, because we didn't find a way for us to be sure that the product will be bought. And we also have a bad experience with former software. So we started with that, but we got another issue, and the other issue was, what about the playback? And we don't want to recreate things. So we find out some solution, and one of these was Softron. And I was already aware about Softron because we are using it with a software named Movie Recorder. So Movie Recorder is really a nice solution for us, because we have to do what we name time shift. And most of the time we have, in the context of TV news recording, we have an issue is that we are pre-recording, but sometimes we have to start the broadcasting while we are still recording. And in that case, for a low budget, we got a solution that works. And you know, in operation, what we need is things working, not nice feature. What we have at first is it working? And sometimes you have some other solution, but they are more bigger and difficult to manage with not many staff, you know.
Great. Thank you for that introduction. What's the name of your product?
My product is named Basique, which is in French. The term in English is really easy, it's basic. So why basic? Because there is a song done by a French guy, which is named Simple Basic. It was exactly the idea. We need something which is simple for all the people in the TV, coming from the journalist, because we are at first a TV news channel, you know. Our main focus is local television, local news. But local is really local compared to US. you know. It's like talking about a part of the Nevada.
Yeah.
So it's not the same sizing. But the fact was, the journalists were always blaming other people, blaming technical people, blaming other journalists, saying, oh, it's not exactly what I want to say at the prompter. And it was a mess. So we decided to create something which can be really simple, at least. And one day I came to IBC and I saw a guy named Pierre Chevalier, and it was talking about his nice Softron things, and I was frankly thinking, what a piece of crap, I don't need that. I don't need that thing. I don't need Mac stuff. No. What I need is focus on my smartphone and nothing else. But after that, we came with a big issue, and the big issue is about impaired of hearing. You know, we need to get some subtitle to have what we name access, and all these people need to get a thing named teletext, a really crappy thing coming from the 70s. Yeah, in Belgium we are still using the 70 stuff. And one fact is, for example, you cannot change the font size. It's a mess, but it's like that. And so we need to quickly identify a company which can directly, what we can say, take from the shelf, you know, like going to the any big, like going to Radio Shack, taking the piece of stuff and say, ha, I have it. And we started to discuss, because we are 12 television in the south part of Belgium. And we were talking each other, some saying, oh, you know, Softron has something. So we were wondering about that. And one day I decided to go with another technical manager from another TV station and coming to meet Pierre and Daniel from Softron, and we discuss openly about what were our goal. So my goal is reducing the staff without losing quality, first. And second was about, we need to deal about this teletext stuff and accept bigger solution. We're not finding something which works. Then those two guys say, hey, we have a solution. I said, no, you are kidding with me. You have no solution. Yeah, we have it. So we discussed about that. And one strange thing is we were focused on another product line inside the Softron product line. And by talking each other, we find out that our need was another product, which is named OnTheAir video, the basic one. And after that, it works. You know, since end of March, we are dealing with a 24-hour a day solution, and it works. I don't have any crash. In my former solution, but I came here since 2018, so 3 years. When I came here, at the beginning, crash every 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Lot of issues. And the fact is, today I have a subtitling solution that works, and I have also a 24-hour operation that works. Now, so what about simple, basic, what the stuff about that? The stuff was, okay, what we don't want is getting people clicking on something. What we need is, on each level, from the guy who is preparing the guide, so what we name electronic program guide, what we name also planning, to the guy who is managing traffic, advertisement, to the guy who is working about scheduling, they can talk each other. And it works. You can see currently on the screen, this is the planning system. So the planning is done remotely by a woman from her home, and she can start to prepare our programmation for 4 weeks before. Because with the editor of EPG, we need to publish 4 weeks before publishing, before being on the day one. And it works. So clearly, I would say that, so here you can see how we can manage the TV news recording. And the whole things are working together. So you can see there that we are using DHD audio solution. We are using new tech solution to do our video mixing. And one thing is it works together. All the things are working. And at the beginning, I was really skeptical about Softron, thinking, yeah, boy, you know, Mac thing, I don't really need that. And today I'm a happy customer. And I'm not saying that with some bags of money.
Sounds good. You have various modules in Basiq, and you use various modules from Softron. Yeah. And you've integrated your modules with Softron's modules.
Correct. All together, and it works directly. And when we face some issue, so I'm not the developer. I'm the program manager. I do the project management. I know how to code. It's not an issue on my side, but my main job is about being technical manager, not developer. So I know exactly how it works, API and so on. And the fact was, what I really need is some software bricks. They are talking each other on both way, you know, and it's one of the lacks of our former solution. It was a one-way solution. So we were pushing, let's say, a playlist, and after that, taking hoping about, oh, is it working or not? And sometimes it was not working. We were not aware why it's not working, and the software was not discussing with our system, saying the issue is on that point, you know. And the fact is, since now several months, we don't have to face about that. Because if we need some information from the Softron solution, we can directly ask the Softron through API, so HTTP request, and getting the things, getting the data. For example, the srun log on our system is live. So we are picking up from the log text and pushing directly to our database and getting directly the reporting for our authorities. Because in Belgium, you have some authorities asking what is the level of, let's say, sport? What is the level about news? Before, we were paying some guy doing some nice stuff on Excel and so on, or numbers. And now it's quick, direct information, dashboard. You know, this is a main difference for us. And the difference is with that software, we can retrieve any kind of information we need. And when we don't have this information, we just create a ticket. You know, in every company, you have to do tickets. I was running by the past the ticketing system for more than 1,000 people, customer. So I know that you need tickets. So I don't have any issue about that, because even time I'm triggering a ticket, I have an answer. And not just a bullshit answer saying, we are dealing with that, please wait about some time and maybe you have somewhere an information. No, we have some discussion. And one cool thing is, you guys, when I have some issues, you are directly, okay, let's do a call and let's talk about that. So one thing that we were missing is we have some IDs in the playlist items. All of the items in our system have an ID. And what we need is, when we are checking the run log, the srun, we need this ID, the same, to get the match, and it works. So I just asked the team to get this, and I think that by 1 week it was done. But this is maybe a difference between an off-the-shelf product. It's like an off-the-shelf product in terms of economics. I know, you know, that the price is really good. If I compare with other solution, in other solution, we are first doing what we can say a project, paying for the project, paying people, talking about something, and at the end, maybe getting a piece of software. In your case, I got the product, and from that, I can manage my product. And this is the main difference. It's also linked to one thing. I'm an IT guy at the beginning. I'm not coming from the TV industry. I'm an IT guy. So I'm thinking first as an IT and not really about a director or some people like that. But I'm in the media industry more than 1 decade. So I know what you need. I know that when I'm talking about giga, you are talking of minute. I know that when I'm dealing about a product that has to be aired, you are talking about a ready to broadcast. You know, there are some things to know. But at the end, this is one thing. And the other thing is what we were really expecting is something that is reliable. You know, sometimes it's just something. And every time I'm asking about a new feature, the whole solution is continuing to work. In former project, I got some issue about that. With people saying, oh, you have a new feature? Yeah, but the other is missing. Oh, oops.
Thank you. Pierre, I had a question for you. And that is, Olivier talked a lot about how he went along with it. Well, he spoke about a couple of things, actually. The one was teletext and subtitling. And I know here in the United States, we have issues with closed captioning. Maybe you could discuss a little bit about the similarities or the differences and how Softron goes about the whole closed captioning subtitling issue. The other thing is, we heard a lot from Olivier about the integration of his software with the Softron software, or his solution with the Softron solution. If you could go into a little more detail about how the API or the REST API actually works and what Softron does to help broadcasters who are broadcasting 24/7 to make sure that they have the tools and they can integrate the way they actually want to. So Pierre, how can you address those?
Yeah, so first of all, sorry, Olivier, that I could not convince you the first time we met at IBC. But I'm happy that now you had nice comments and so about the features and everything we've been doing over the past few years to really improve how our software can be used in 24/7 environment. And yeah, one of the things that you mentioned about teletext, and indeed, Mike, you said, so teletext, it's also called OP47. It's a format for subtitling that is used in Europe, Australia, I believe. And here in the US, it would be rather called closed captioning. And to handle closed captioning, we can either handle that in the file, so you create a file with a closed captioning track. And the very nice thing with that, so there are different ways to create those files. We have articles on our support desk that can explain to you how to create those files. So it's we try to have as much information as we can on our website. I won't demo it right now because it could take a little bit of time and we don't want to go into much details. But if you want the information, check our website. So you create that in Adobe, Final Cut Pro 10, or your editing software. You export it, and you have a file with closed captionings in it, and we'll play it out to the SDI output, and then it can be used. But also, we have added the support for SRT, which is a sidecar file, and it's much easier to handle, as it's a simple text file that you can edit, and it has to travel with it, but it's much easier. And we know that a lot of customers have third-party software, for example, so they will export the video and then it will be uploaded to a transcription service, which will in return send back a SRT file. So it's very easy. You don't have to re-encode the video just to add the subtitling. And so yeah, that's what we are trying with the subtitling, and it's been very helpful, I think, for a lot of our customers. So that's one thing, and it's really important because, as you know, in the US, in Europe, it's mandatory. If you want to do 24/7, you have to have subtitling. You cannot do without it. And so that's for subtitling. In terms of integration, since the beginning, we tried to have our software as open as possible. And it meant, for example, for our playlist, it starts with it, to generate our playlist, it's a simple document. It's an XML, for those of you who know, but basically you can open that in a text editor and see inside, modify things manually. So it's really an open, our playlists are open. You can modify it yourself and create them. So a traffic software or other type of software can create playlists themselves without doing it in OnTheAir video. So that's the first kind of integration that you can do. But also, you will need to control. And for that, we started to do Apple scripts. Apple scripts on the Mac platform is very well known. It's easy to work with. You can simply create an Apple script to tell OnTheAir video to start playing that clip or retrieve some information. So it can be really helpful and easy to integrate. But of course, so that's fine to have an Apple script running and do different things. And actually, we use it within our software. So for example, in OnTheAir video, we have what we call actions. Actions are Apple scripts that can trigger other services. It can be anything that is Apple scriptable. As our applications are Apple scriptable, we can control it. So you could have in OnTheAir video, when you play a specific clip, you can tell it to start recording in OverRecorder. So that's very useful. I think, I'm not sure if you're using that, Olivier, but some are using it to have, so in OnTheAir video, they have a playlist, they have a live. So in a playlist, you can add regular clips and then have a live, for example, if you have your news. And at the beginning of that live, you can have an Apple script that will do two things. That will change your video router to select the correct output to go to air. And as well, it can start recording in OverRecorder. So that's the kind of things you can do with Apple scripts. And then the next part, and if you are working as Olivier is working with a software solution, you have REST API. So REST API, what is it? It's a HTTP protocol. It's something that is used to control and interact with web servers. So for example, if you want to do an integration with Twitter, if you want to retrieve the tweets that are done and integrated, you will be using REST API. So it's very common. Most web developers can work with it, and it's very simple. You can type just an URL in Safari, and this will, for example, trigger the playback. And again, it's something that is open, so we have all the documentation available. Anyone can go in our documentation and start building the blocks. And also to make things easier for our customers, we have sample web page. So yeah, we're trying to really have it as easy as possible. We have sample web page to control OnTheAir video, change the playlist, for example, and the other software, OverRecorder, for example, is also controllable via REST API. So you can, from a web page, start and stop the recording from a simple web page, which is nice, so people can be remotely, even on their iPhone, and also on PC, because we run on a Mac, but we know that some users are using PC, and with that REST API and web-based protocol, it means that any platform can control us. So yeah,
we have a question that just came in from Northern Visions. I'll read it. How can I easily produce EPG files from the playlist for uploading to UK TV? Is there a way around this? I don't want to complicate it with another app, which is also expensive.
Yeah, so
how can I easily produce EPGs?
So currently in OnTheAir video, there is no way to export EPG, but it's something we have in other software called OnTheAir Manager. So we have our range of playout solutions. It goes from OnTheAir Video Express, which is mainly for live shows, and it doesn't have a schedule, for example. Then you go to OnTheAir Video, which has schedule with closed captioning and a lot of advanced features. And then there is also OnTheAir Node. OnTheAir Node is a client-server type of application, and it has OnTheAir Manager to create the events. And in that software, we have the ability to set on each specific event an EPG with the description and so on, but we have different EPG formats, of course. And so I don't know exactly what you would be using in your case. So we could check that, and we can see if we could support it. But it's supported. But otherwise, so that's our software OnTheAir Manager. But I think if you're using OnTheAir Video with a traffic software, that's the job of the traffic software to create the EPG, and I believe, Olivier, you're dealing with that.
That's exactly what we've done. So we've decided that customer is king. So the idea was, when my customer is using his remote and getting the EPG, he needs to be sure that if he wants something about the cats, he will see some kittens on the TV and nothing else. So we decided to start from a planning, and the planning is the EPG in our case. So we decided to think like that. That's a way of working. About expensive stuff, yeah, it can be expensive. In our case, we decided to do by ourselves because we got the last mile, which was the Softron OnTheAir Video. So some people are coming from one side to another, and on our side, we were thinking about, okay, we have the end. So let's think about what is the beginning. And the beginning was the EPG. So we started, to be honest with you, thinking about Outlook or calendar. And we say, okay, what we need is a calendar. And from the calendar, I do some blocks. And from blocks, I need some advertisement. And I have people going through some commercial and signing some traffic. So we have some ads, and we put together with the main program, and we have the show, and that works. So in our case, we were thinking that all of this stuff has to be done on our software, and we are only using Softron as the end, you know? So it's to kind of way. The fact is, what we need in our company was being sure that the girl who is doing the TV great stuff can do it by herself without knocking at the door of the technical staff, saying, "Oh, please go to your software and add." And it means one thing that you have to know also: the guy who is typing the text and the description in the EPG as a journalist. That's one thing. What we were thinking is all the people has to do their part of the job. So this is another way, and that's how we work. In the screen that you are seeing there, this is a rundown. So we have made by ourselves our own solution of NRCS, like iNews, and the people are putting by stack all the subject, and that's it. And they are starting the show, and this show has an EPG done by another person in our staff. That's how we can manage that.
Okay. Thank you. Pierre, back to you for a second. You mentioned OnTheAir Video, you mentioned OnTheAir Node, and OnTheAir Manager, and OnTheAir Video Express. So this Softron software is scalable depending on the actual need of the person who requires playout. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. So depending on what feature you need, you can check on our website. We have a comparison between each of the software. So you can see what features are available for OnTheAir Video Express, which is the entry-level application, and what is available for OnTheAir Video and OnTheAir Node and Manager. So yeah, it really depends on what you need. And OnTheAir Video is really the go-to application in order to do a lot of things for live. And so OnTheAir Video really answers a lot of needs also for 24/7. We've added in OnTheAir Video 4 a lot of scheduling features that weren't there in OnTheAir Video 3. We had a simple scheduler already. It's been a while we have that, but we really added different things in the scheduler. For example, you can now edit the schedule directly in OnTheAir Video 4. That was done differently before. You had to go through another software and so on, but we made it much easier in OnTheAir Video 4, and we have projects, so we continue building our software to improve that even better. And we have, for example, you can build your schedule manually. So a schedule in OnTheAir Video, what it does is that you create events. Say I want that event to start at that date and that time, and you simply drag and drop your playlist in those events. So you can build that manually, or you can have a software build that software for you. But in the case of traffic integration, what we have done is folder-based schedule, which is very easy because you simply put a playlist in a folder, and that playlist has a date, and it will simply, on the day that it should play, we'll start playing that playlist. So you have nothing to do. Basically, the traffic software just has to drop the playlist in that folder, and that's it. We'll take care of the rest and open it.
So I think Softron, one of the things I know that David Belisle has been working on is a number of videos that have been put on the website so that people can actually go there and see how these various tasks are completed. For example, the scheduling that you just mentioned and the integration. So people who are watching this or people who are visiting the website, they can go to the website and actually see a video showing exactly what you've described right there. David, you came from another company to Softron. Could you describe a little bit about what you guys were doing, which really piqued your interest in Softron and brought you over to the company?
Yeah, so we were, well, first it was Movie Recorder, and I was using that. And then we had to feed out at specific times during the day. And we didn't have a way to schedule any video or play it back at any certain time. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, we need these videos to play. But the only way we had initially was out of our control room. And so at 1 p.m., we had to stop what we were doing in the control room and start playing videos. And we were on a major time crunch. And so we were all just looking at the clock, just playing video after video, going, oh my gosh, we're not going to make our next time at 2 o'clock, which is our next thing. And it was like, okay, we have this Movie Recorder. Let's see what else they have. They had OnTheAir Video. And at this time, it was OnTheAir Video 3. And it was pretty much, let's just order it. Let's see. We know Movie Recorder works. Let's see. And I got it, and I set it up. And I think the week I got it, I set it up, I think within like a few days, and it worked. And it was like, oh my gosh, we don't have to do this anymore. But my favorite part was we hired a new guy, and Olivier talked about this a little bit, about staffing. We hired a new guy who had never worked in TV before. He'd never been in a production control room or any master control. And I taught him that day, in that one day, this is what we're doing. You're going to make a playlist, and you're going to add it into this schedule, and you're going to hit enable. And he took it from then on. I didn't have to do it anymore. And that made my life so much easier that I was like, wow, I just taught this guy who knows nothing of TV in one day. Let's see what else they can do. And that was funny that, I called and said, hey, what else can this do? And finding about graphics and projects. And even one thing, if you don't know, this is kind of like a pro tip. I learned this after being employed for a while, was you could see captions in Movie Recorder. I didn't know that. I felt foolish to find that out one day. That on the same machine as OnTheAir Video, I launched Movie Recorder, and I could see through DirectLink. I could see the closed captions coming through, and it was like great to say, I can preview exactly what's there. So there's a lot of little features that I always loved seeing how they got, these guys always thought every piece of this part, through, of like, oh, it should do this and should think of this. And being with them, one of the things we talked about with Movie Recorder, we were like, oh, it has the ability to do everything with the VANC, everything that is in the closed caption, we decided to really flush out every possible feature in the VEG. And it was like, well, then let's see a SCTE log analyzer. And that's what we did in Movie Recorder 4.4 was, hey, now we can see exactly what's in that log analyzer. So when that SCTE comes through, we'll be able to read it. And that was, more features like that.
David, for our audience, can you describe what the SCTE triggers are and why they're useful?
Yeah, of course. So if you're trying to trigger your content, when you're trying to say, I need to go to commercial break or I need to know how long a segment is, it's coming down your SDI line and it's saying, here's your duration, here's the program ID for your commercial or for your live event. And this is very important, especially when you're talking about Amazon, Amazon's web cloud services or Verizon or any really cloud service. So as we talk about OTT, that's really important. So you want that SCTE command to say, okay, go to commercials for this long, through that provider and then come back to me. And so we can also take an input that has a SCTE and pass that along as well. And with OnTheAir video, you can trigger a SCTE inside of it. So if you just have clips, there's no live elements or no SCTEs in those videos, you can trigger that. So we can say, do this SCTE at the end of a clip or the beginning of a clip, and it'll take care of it. And so this is interesting to see how customers have used that to say, oh, I'm going to a break and I'm going to trigger a SCTE to this machine, it's going to run this commercials. But on this, it's going to come from OnTheAir video. So they have the same content, but two different commercials at the same time, and then they come back. And I think that's really important when you talk about your broadcast versus OTT, where you might have different customers. So it's been really cool to see that all come together, and very simply, because it's, like Olivier said, when you have a lot of products, very expensive products, and they add features and then something else happens or it doesn't really work. It's this really cool feature and then it doesn't work out. We're really committed to finding out, hey, this is a feature, it's going to work, and this is how we want it to work. That's really important for us.
Yeah, and
Olivier, I saw you shaking your head up and down. Do you,
Sorry.
Do you do the? No, that's fine. Obviously, you're in agreement. Are you using SCTE triggers as well in your application?
Yeah, the fact is, one thing is, currently we are doing the all TV fashion, but the future is about OTT, it's about social network, and it's about multi-channel, And the fact is, you have always to think about what is my target audience. And in some case, it's a old TV. In other case, it's about OTT. And that's exactly what I was thinking about the future of my current situation is not exactly what is expected, My goal is not to run a 24-hour operation about our TV. It's also about how I can save some money about operation and moving on content. Content is king. Thinking about only operation is not a good idea at all. You have to think, okay, what will be the future? In my case, it's local news. So it's a good thing because I don't have to compete with a US guy, I have only to compete with some local media. And the fact is, you have to save money on operation and to take all this money to the content. And from a tech guy, sometimes people are saying, wow, a tech guy talking about getting more money to the journalist. Yeah, because I know that the future is more about content. It's not about the way you are providing to the customer.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the things that intrigued me back in 2007, when I started working with Softron, was the fact that the market was wide open. People were looking at, heavy iron, and they knew that in order to update systems, it would cost tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it was excluding a lot of small broadcasters, a lot of nonprofits, for example, from getting involved in the video broadcasting industry. And with Softron, it made it extremely easy. You were talking about training and the number of staff. David was talking about, being able to train somebody in a very short period of time in order to use the solution. So I think we're actually looking at several things, one of which is the ease of use and the cost effectiveness of the solution, which makes it very intriguing, and the integration and scalability of the solution, because you can do everything from a simple playlist playout, which is going to incorporate a lot of the features that are necessary in a live broadcast situation. And then you have more advanced capabilities with things like traffic systems and being able to have that IT information that you need in order to pass down to people. Pierre, just for you, I mean, how do you see it work? I mean, is a traffic system the best way to go, or is it just as easy to use the new scheduling features in on-the-air video?
Well, it all depends what you need to do. The scheduling feature of on-the-air video can really help if you have, if you're a local TV station, university. We have a lot of universities that use our software in order to schedule some, shows that are in the internal TV station. And in that case, you simply build a schedule playlist and drag and drop your clips in it, add commercials if you have, and then simply schedule that using the feature I just explained before, adding an event and so on. So that works really well. Where a traffic can be interesting to have is if you have more needs. And there are some rules in different countries that are different. In Europe, I think they are stricter, but for example, you have, when you're broadcasting a TV, you have to limit yourself to a certain amount of advertisement. And it's quite complex. So I don't remember exactly the rules, but let's say it's 10 minutes per hour, and then you have a limit per 24 hours. And if you have to handle that in on-the-air video, you could add yourself, but you would have to manually do it yourself. So it's very, it's more complicated. Whereas a traffic software does that. It will allow you to have warnings. Hey, be careful, you are going over your allocated duration. And the other scenarios where it can be useful is if you have rights for programs. So the rights, if you are broadcasting a film or a series, you will have the right to broadcast them a certain amount of time and within a certain period. So there also in the traffic, you can say, okay, I have that show, here's the file, and I can broadcast it from that date to that date and that amount of time. And the traffic will warn you, hey, you have broadcasted enough. And it can also automatically, you say, okay, this is my first series, and automatically it will put the next episodes for the next weeks and so on. So it really makes automation, handling of the programs much easier.
What traffic systems does Softron software work with?
So we support Basiq, of course, and there is also So there is also in the French market there is ProDef TV, and which is a French solution, and in the US we're working with Wide Orbit. And Wide Orbit is a very well-known traffic solution. It created playlists that we can import in on-the-air video very easily. We have, to do that, we have a media browser, but maybe I will not get into much details, but basically a media browser helps you to be able, for example, to create segments, put in out points that will be reused in the schedule very easily.
And I think there's a video clip on the Softron website describing in detail how the media browser is
David
used.
has worked a lot on that, so probably have things to add about that.
Well, and to comment on what Olivier said, content is king. And I think I wanted to go back to that because there was a really interesting use case where there was a TV station, and it was kind of a newer news station. And they were making content, and they said, how can we do this smarter? And they actually assigned all the journalists beats inside the city. And so it was a very old, that's an old idea, beats in the city. And they took that idea back. And so now the reporters were working in parts of the town and said, go learn your part of the community. Go learn it. Go meet people. Go find the story. And don't even come into the station. They said, just send your video in and it'll automatically come into OnTheAir video. This is your name, this is the file, it'll come in. You can either use folder-based playlist or it'll just pick up when you have the new file name. And that was so interesting because they said it has changed the way they've worked, where instead of, okay, now the team comes into the station, the team goes out of the station, then they come back and then they work on it and then you check it. And they're like, now it's much more focused on the content. And having that ability to do these newscasts where, okay, we have beats, we have this is your segment, this is what you're doing. And I think that was, again, focusing on content. How can you make it better? And one other thing that group was doing was using DGO to make their graphics. So they're saying, okay, here's the graphics I want at this time, and then it's going to play over that package. It meets exactly their look for all their other newscasts, for all their other types, and it works because it's non-destructive. And that's another huge point, is you don't want to be destroying your media with a graphic. And that's such a huge pain point when you're dealing with productions and saying, okay, now this media is burned in with this graphic for all time, and you don't have to, that doesn't happen with OnTheAir video, that you can say, no, this is how it is, and you can take it off, you can change it quickly. That was another great point to say, oh, this makes it much easier. And with transitions now, that's awesome. I'm a switcher guy. I've been running switchers for 15 years. And when I first got onto the transitions features, they said, David, go check it out. Let us know what you think. And I added the graphic, and it was ready in like 20 seconds. It actually angered me because it was so quick. I mean, I've been dealing with switchers for so long where it's like 30 minutes later it's ready, or here's this really complicated 3D program and it's going to take you an hour. And so someone's like, oh, we have 30 minutes before the show, we have the graphic ready. Oh, it's too late. There's not enough time. And to say 20 seconds and I had it ready, it actually bothered me. So good problems.
Yeah. Olivier, how does Basiq handle graphics and tickers and clocks and stuff like that?
Yeah. Okay. So we are dealing about the corner, the box. It's the name in France. So it's the ident of the company. So based on the show, it will not be the same ident. First, it's managed directly in conjunction with Softron. And for the rest, currently we are not really using tickers and so on because journalists doesn't really agree about that. And another fact is they fell in love with what we name Adobe. So they really like to do some graphics with After Effects and so on, and they have time to do it. But I pinpoint one thing is when you need a graphic on time, you don't have time to spend on Adobe things. So this is our next goal, is doing some layers, direct layers coming from Softron or other things. I'm not sure about what will be the product, but one thing is one of the TV, so we have 12 TV stations, one of the TV is currently working a lot with Softron CG server and thinking about that. And this is also another fact is in our television, we are 12, but we are in cooperation. We are not fighting each other, you know. They are not, they are friends for us because they are local. They are focused on one region, we are focused on another. And one thing I asked them is stop fighting each other, let's go things together. And this is the case with Softron. Softron is now the only provider for the playout because we decided to stop fighting and think, what is the best solution? The solution currently for that case is that brand, okay, go on it and stop to obsess of using another product, you know?
Pierre, could you, Olivier just mentioned CG Server, which is a Softron product. Could you describe briefly how that fits into the Softron family of products?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so OnTheAir CG is a software to overlay dynamic graphics on top of video. We have OnTheAir CG since a while now, so it's composed of two software. There is OnTheAir CG Designer, which allows you to create the graphics, add a shape, add an image, add a movie with a transparency. And you can import, so you can create your graphics, 3D graphics in After Effects, Motion, or whatever animation software you have, export that to a movie with a transparency and import it in, on the CG, and then just add the text that you'll modify later on. We can add clock, stickers, and so on. So you create your graphics in CG Designer, and then this graphic, you can use it in two of our software. You can either use it in OnTheAir CG Server. So OnTheAir CG Server is the software that will overlay graphics. So it can be used for live shows or to overlay graphics. You have your signal coming from OnTheAir video, and you can overlay graphics on top of that using OnTheAir CG Server. And so yeah, it can be used in different ways. It's really the playout for the CG projects. And that's been used a lot like that. So OnTheAir video, controlling the CG server in order to tell, yeah, with that clip, I need to overlay ticker, I need to overlay that clock, or turn everything off. For example, during advertisement, you have to turn all the projects off, and that's possible to control it with OnTheAir video. But since OnTheAir video 4, we have also done the DGO. So the DGO is Dynamic Graphics Overlay option in OnTheAir video. And what it allows you to do is to take those CG projects, the same one you play in OnTheAir CG server, and play them within OnTheAir video. So it makes the workflow much easier because you don't have two software, one controlling the other, and everything is controlled from within OnTheAir video. You have the same, and with the same kind of controls that you can say, with that clip, I want that project to start, and so on. But yeah, we made that easier because we know for most people it's easier to have just one software to deal with. But we also know that some person, so we keep CG server because we know that some person prefer to have a different software because, for example, the overlay of graphics could be done from an ATEM switcher or any production switcher, where you output from CG server to a video card that has fill and key. You send that to your production switcher, and you can overlay graphics directly on it. And
right, so what I'm hearing is that Softron provides multiple solutions which are all integratable. We have Movie Recorder, which Olivier mentioned, which was one of the first applications that he actually used and fell in love with. We have OnTheAir CG server, and we have a variety of playout solutions. And again, all of the primary one used for 24/7 broadcast is OnTheAir video, and that can be used for live as well as scheduled playout. And we have the tools that allow complete and total integration, whether it be via AppleScript, REST API. We can trigger external devices like switchers, which David is so in love with, or and finally we have the capability of, in addition to the overlaying the graphics, we have the ability to have the closed captioning or subtitling that is required by governmental institutions to meet the broadcasting needs. So I think everybody has heard that Softron provides solutions for 24/7 broadcast. They provide solutions that are open. I know that if you visit the basique.tv website, you will see that there's open source solution is going to be available relatively soon so that people can use that and integrate into their operations. And I want to thank Olivier, thank Pierre, and thank David for all this information that we've been able to share on this very first Softron virtual exhibition. And I remind people that you can go to the website. There is a support page there where you can get vast amounts of information on how to integrate Softron into your environment. And in addition, on the YouTube page that you've probably already scanned through, you'll see that we have a number of videos that explain in detail how to do the various things that we've been describing here. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Olivier. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, David. And we're going to be doing this again tomorrow. So see you tomorrow, folks.
If I can add something just before we end, because we have still slots available for if you want to have a meeting with us. So you can book appointments with us on Zoom, and we'll be happy if you have more questions and so on to answer them personally. So don't hesitate to go also on the same webpage and check it out.
Very good point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody should sign up. They'll have one-on-ones with you. See you tomorrow.